Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dear Digital podcast. My name is Sam, and I'm the technical lead at Dear Digital, and your host today for an exciting podcast with Clément from Odoo. Clément currently works at Odoo, where he focuses on the CMS and e-commerce module. And of course, we also zoom in on what Odoo is all about and how Fabien, the founder and CEO of Odoo, started this freshly minted Belgian unicorn. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And as always, if you have any questions, tips, or concerns, reach out to Samuel Rieder on LinkedIn or at sam@deardigital.be. Thank you so much and enjoy. Cheers. Welcome, Clément. Thanks a lot for hopping on our podcast. Tell me something about yourself.
Okay, so I'm currently responsible for the commercial development of the website builder and e-commerce applications at Odoo. Basically, my mission is to do everything possible to make Odoo grow in the CMS and e-commerce market.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much. Maybe just some background information on yourself. It's always nice to know who we're speaking about or to. So you're from Belgium, right? You work
Yes.
for Odoo since a couple of years. How did you come about like the maybe more like the tech scene, right, in Belgium? What did you study? Why did you start working for Odoo? Did you know Odoo for a long time already?
Okay, so I've studied economics and management in Belgium, indeed, and Odoo is my first company. So I started in 2017 in the direct sales department. After that, I was responsible for the Odoo roadshows, which are conferences that Odoo organize around the world. After that, I took a 6 months break to travel, and now I'm in this position.
Must have been quite awesome, right? I mean, to travel around a little and talk about Odoo. That's quite a cool job to do.
Yes, that's a very good concept. We organize 200 events around the world, so it allows us to showcase the product to customers, to local partners, and yes, it was very a good way to promote Odoo in every country.
Awesome. So yeah, Odoo's been growing like crazy the last couple of years, right? I mean, and you guys went internationally quite like soon, but maybe we can just like zoom out a little and just think about Odoo like as a system. Can you just like explain Odoo? What is Odoo in the most basic form?
Okay, so Odoo is a business management software. It's a suite of applications, and it allows you to manage all your daily operations in one place. So you could create an e-commerce website, but also manage your accounting, your inventory management, marketing, even manufacturing. So many stuff then can be combined together to create a fully integrated system. You could compare Odoo to a box of Lego, the little bricks we play when we are young. Each brick represents an app covering one need in your company, and then you can combine them together to create an integrated system. But this approach is super interesting because it allows you to make the system evolve. So you could start by launching a website, and then you could add the e-commerce modules. Then maybe you will add the inventory management because you have more and more orders. Then you will need an accounting software to generate and manage all your invoice. So yeah, it's really the system can grow at the same pace as your company.
Awesome. And so Fabien started all of this, right? He's becoming quite a well-known figure in Belgium at the time. Like Odoo is a unicorn. It's you guys are quite good in branding and marketing these days, I would say. And it's also yeah crazy how the amount of people who use Odoo and invoice with Odoo is growing. But can you just zoom in like how Fabien started, why he started Odoo, and yeah, how it all came together?
Yes. So Fabien, who is the CEO but also the founder of Odoo, started developing Tiny ERP, which is the old name of Odoo, when he was at university, so 15 years ago. Since the very beginning, Odoo is an open source project. It means that everyone can access the code, use it, and contribute to the development of the software. So there is a huge community Odoo community around the world.
So I just want to jump into the open source theme just very quickly because when you were talking, I just had a question that came up in my mind. So why did Fabien choose actually to make it open source? And so you talk about the community of the developers that are like looking into the system of Odoo because like the code is open source, so you can really see how Odoo was built, right? You can see every single line of code. Um, what is like the added value of making it open source to the
But
developers?
first, for developers, it's awesome because they can contribute to a common project and they can get inspiration from other modules. They can reuse it in their own projects and so on. So there is a community that is built around Odoo as a product, and for the customer, that's also awesome because it allows you to create custom features on a project. Of course, we always recommend to use the standard features of Odoo. We have tons of features, standard features that you don't need to develop. But for some very specific needs, that might be interesting to have this ability to access the code and create something custom made for the customer. So yeah, both
Awesome.
developers and end users benefit from the for the open source aspect.
Exactly. And just to have like the just to talk a bit about the size of Odoo, right? Like how many developers worked on making the product that we see right now? How long did it take? How many developers are like working on it constantly?
Okay, so Odoo, currently we are 2,000 employees. I think in the in the R&D department, I don't know the exact number, but I would say that there may be two or 300 in total. And yeah, uh, on top of the internal developers, you also have this community, and we estimate that approximately 100,000 of people are working on Odoo in the partner network to sell services on Odoo and also contribute to the software. So, yeah, the community is huge actually.
Exactly. And like more or less, if we just check it geographically, because you were talking about the road shows. So
Yes.
where is the Odoo community big? Like we have it in Europe, of course, it's a Belgian company, European company. Is it big in the US already at this point in time, or are you like focusing on developing nations, or where does it live at this point in time?
Uh, of course, the community itself is all around the world, and we have passionate people and really huge Odoo fans all around the world, also in US. And in terms of market, I think right now the US market is the biggest one. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Then we just we didn't touch on Fabien yet, right? Like how did
Yes.
he start it? Like what was his starting
Yes.
yeah, like story? That's always very cool to hear.
Okay, I think no one would explain the story better than himself, but
One day he should come on the podcast and maybe you can
yeah,
organize it for us. So who knows?
yes, we should. We should. But yeah, Fabien is truly passionate about IT and business management in general. When he was young, he started many different projects from t-shirt selling to art auction software. But then he realized that most of the SMEs were inefficient because they didn't have the right tool. Um, at that time, having an ERP system, so a fully integrated system, was only reserved for big companies with a lot of budgets and consultants to work on to implement. So SMEs couldn't really afford it. They had to live with their inefficiencies.
Hmm.
So he wanted to change this and had the idea of revolutionizing the ERP market and challenge the big players with another approach. So big players are typically SAP. So he started Odoo alone in a farm in Wallonia in Belgium, and yeah, across the years he grew the software together with new employees, with also the community, and yeah, he was totally right because 15 years later, as I said, we are 2,000 employees. We have 7 million users, and yeah, and many partners working on the product also and selling services. And that's
It's
only the
cool.
beginning. So
Exactly, yeah, well, because it's quite exciting to hear. I mean, we
yes,
don't really have such a story often in Belgium, right? We can be proud of what he's doing, but still, I mean, Belgium is a very small country, right? In Belgium,
yes,
so it's quite crazy that such a big like software business is growing in Wallonia and in Belgium. So it's just quite awesome to see that happen. Yeah, from that perspective, I mean, it doesn't really matter from where it's from, right? And like you said, I mean, the
yes,
community is all over the world, but still it's quite cool to see it in our lifetime, and to witness it. So
yes.
that's nice. And so then you specifically, you've been hired, or no, you moved towards a direction where you are focusing more on websites and e-commerce.
Yes.
Why is that important to Odoo, and what is the vision behind creating a
Yes.
team around that?
We want to develop the best e-commerce and website solution so the user don't have to worry about connecting their e-commerce platform and their business management software.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And so has that been a focus for a long time, or is that something that came up rather like not in a not too distant future?
I think the first version of the website module and e-commerce was in version 9. Today we are in version 15, but it's been two versions that we are really focusing on this on making really the best product on the market.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And how does that look like then in terms of a team? So you are, yeah, within that team, right? You more or less lead the team, or you're part of the team. Like, how many people are you? What are the next steps? What are the steps that you, for example, took this year? Yeah, how is that team evolving?
But we are so many people among Odoo to work on a website and e-commerce, from R&D to services. So my personal mission is more on developing the awareness and also the commercial aspect. Be sure that people understand what is Odoo e-commerce and use it in their own projects. But a big project I've been working on lately is the creation of web designers teams, because we realize that we have a super easy solution, but sometimes for some customers they want a service on the design uh, of their shop. So we wanted to propose that kind of service, and basically a customers who wants to Odoo to create a website can ask us, and we will create a website design for him and integrate it in Odoo. But of
Okay.
course, they could do it by themselves. But for some people, for some customers, they want to have it as a service. So we have been
Yeah, so it's like a
team.
custom theme, right, that you make for or your
Yes,
website or your e-commerce company. So it's quite logical that if you are, for example,
exactly.
focused on e-commerce, that you want to, yeah, have that brand
Yes,
alignment in the team that you are developing. So that's one of the
yes,
focus points that you are really aiming at, right?
yes. Right.
Okay, awesome. And so for that, you're hiring, yeah, front end developers and designers.
Yes, exactly. So we have started the team in October, and right now there are 6 designers in the team. But we have a lot of requests. That there is a high demand for that kind of service among customers, but also among the partners networks who wants to be trained on Odoo and creating designs on Odoo. So yes, we are recruiting a lot, and if you listen to this podcast and you are interested in and you are web developers and you want to join the project, that would be there are a lot of open position here.
Awesome, for sure. Yeah, maybe it's interesting to join a do. So go ahead. You can always reach out to Clément for sure.
Yes,
And then maybe zooming in a little bit on like the challenges that you have, right? So how difficult is it to create a CMS? It's always, maybe you cannot say a lot about it, but we all know Wix, we all know Squarespace, we all know Shopify, right? So like what are you guys actually doing, and how difficult is it what you are building? How do you see that?
Uh, I think in terms of e-commerce capabilities, in the standard version of Odoo, we have almost everything ready and everything that you would expect when you launch an e-commerce. So you can easily set up an e-commerce. You can manage product catalogs. You have users accounts. You have payments gateways. Also the delivery management. So all the standard features that you would expect from an e-commerce platform. And on top of all these e-commerce features, you also have a super easy to use interface in drag and drop. So even the design of the store could be easily done by the end users. And in case you have a very specific needs, we also have the possibility, as I said, with the open source aspect, to develop a custom solution. So capabilities becomes infinite. Yeah. So
Okay, and then so Odoo is written in Python, right? I mean,
yes,
maybe that's a little too technical for a lot of people, but that's the basis of Odoo. So the whole front end part, is there any like specific language framework that you guys use that you guys believe in, and how should we see that?
okay. So the backend part, so all the features and so on are written in Python, right? And the front end part is written in JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So that's pretty common for every web developers.
Okay,
So yeah.
yeah, awesome. And so like if you then compare it to other systems, for example,
Yes.
what would you say that could be the strength? Of course, we talked about it at length already.
Yes.
It's nice that it's integrated within the Odoo system, right?
Yes.
But now it's starting off. So what are like at this point when you would be like very honest? What are the drawbacks? Where are you guys at this point in time in terms of the systems that you're working on?
I will first focus on the strengths and weaknesses of our competitors. So you will understand the unique value proposition behind Odoo. When we look back at the CMS market, they are first a big player. The first big player was WordPress, and they become extremely popular on the internet. Almost 60% of the websites are built on WordPress because they came with an open source product, which allows thousands and thousands of people to create custom features, custom themes, and so on. But WordPress is not easy to install and to maintain. Most of the time, non-developer people need the help of a developer to install their WordPress website or a WooCommerce shop. Then on the market, Wix came with an innovative product allowing you to create a design by simply drag and dropping blocks on the interface. And it allowed the non-developers audience to create their website easily. But again, Wix allows you to create uh, good interface easily, but it's not integrated at all with other features, and especially e-commerce is not good on Wix. And then you had Shopify, who came on the market with a solution that is super convenient for doing an e-commerce with almost every e-commerce feature. But I would say that's all they do. They are not business management software, so in the end, you'll need to integrate it with other softwares, which is the main problems of SMEs. And with Odoo, we have the best of these three worlds. Odoo is super easy to use with a drag and drop interface, like you would see in a Wix solution. It's open source, as we mentioned, so you could develop custom features and custom theme in case you need. And it's fully integrated, so we have a lot of e-commerce features like Shopify. So that's for the strengths. And then regarding the weaknesses, I would say that Odoo is really evolving fast. You can see it amongst the version. Really, every version you have new features, and then the documentation, especially the technical documentation for partners like you or developers simply is sometimes difficult to find and to follow. but it's not really a problem because we have a team internally that is working on creating documentation, and it will evolve in the near future. So I would
Exactly.
say that this is the weakness right now of Odoo, but it's not
So
related to the software.
there is not a lot of information at this point in time yet from Odoo, right? Because there is in the community quite a lot of knowledge that hangs somewhere on the internet, right? But it's not like centralized more or less from Odoo
Uh,
themselves. Like, okay, this is how you can create and customize your website or create a custom theme. That's more or less,
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So we have a documentation center, I mean, documentation page where you will find a lot of information, how to use the module and so on. But if we take the good example that you mentioned, for example, the theme creation, uh, this is something that right now is not enough documented, and yeah, we are just working on creating more documentation. So uh, external companies like Dare Digital who would like to create custom themes or features would be able to do it easily because they have all the documentation available. But
Exactly.
I would say that it's also the part of my mission is to get in touch with partners like you and to train you, on if you have some question and be close to the partners to be sure that you understand and can deliver very good services to your own customers.
Awesome. Okay. Then I just want to raise a topic. I think it's a very interesting one, and I just want to have your take on it. So, um, I think we can like say it in this way. You have more or less a best in suite or a best suite tool, right? Odoo is like you have a lot of tools, and it's like the best broad solution that you have. But then you also have the best of breed software, right? So, and I just wanted to like touch on that discussion because it comes up so often when you discuss Shopify, Odoo, other systems like, for example, the WordPresses that you brought up,
Yes.
and it's just like interesting from a philosophical point of view how you think. Um, yeah, what are the weaknesses and the strength of both systems, right? So on the one side, just to rephrase my
Yes.
question a little bit, you have the
Yes.
API economy with the best of breed software, and like
Yes.
more or less, if you put your ear on that side, you see that a lot of SaaS companies are creating a very specific tool, very in depth, and then they connect it with open APIs to other best of breed
Yes.
softwares. Of course, then you have to work a lot on integrating all of that stuff. And
Yes.
then you have the other side, which is, for example, an Odoo, which like says, okay, but instead of like focusing on really going into depth on every single aspect of your business, a
Yes.
lot of businesses are just very broad, and so maybe it's very interesting to just see that like base is covered, right? So how do you think about that like duopoly between those two trains of thought?
I would say that every company in the world has more or less the same needs. You have to create invoices. You have to manage your inventory. You have to you have to create your accounting, but maybe the way you do it is not the same. So my advice on this topic is to first focus on uh, on the um, on the way you do it. So standardize the maximum as possible. So look at the software, understand how it works, and try to adapt your workflow to the software. You will gain a lot of time trying to adapt the software to the way you work. And when you want to customize the maybe some step of the processes, then do it. But yeah, the biggest advice is to, and the most important one is to focus first on the standard, and yeah, and consider in the second time the development.
Awesome, that's interesting. Then I just maybe want to focus a little bit on the ecosystem, right? So one of the
Yes,
things, for example, you raised WordPress. It's an it's an open source project as well. So I mean, how long has it been going on? Probably developers have been developing tools and apps and stuff for 20 years, 15 years. I don't
yes,
even know. I don't know
yes,
the history more or less, but it's huge, right?
yes,
Same is more or less happening for Shopify, right? So you have
yes,
an app for every single thing that you just Yeah, if you have a problem, you just search in the App Store and you'll find an app. Nobody knows if it's yet a
Yes.
very good app, but you will find something. How
Yes.
are you guys going to try and make sure that that ecosystem is built up for Odoo as well? And how important is that for Odoo as an ecosystem? Of course, you already have that big community, so maybe they will
Mhm.
like put themselves into that e-commerce, more e-commerce centered apps.
Yes.
But how is that going?
Yes, our main focus is to develop the best products. So we want the standard features to be the most efficient and the best solution on the market. That's really the main focus. And to achieve this goal, we are listening to the feedbacks of the community, of the developers and business owners, and then for sometimes we cannot integrate everything. Okay, so of course maybe one of your customer will have a very specific needs, and we cannot simply implement these features because it's too specific. And then in that case you can propose this module, this external application, on the Odoo App Store, which is a store when you could sell or even propose your modules for free. um, and that's
Okay.
our vision. Our vision is simply to get the best products out of the box in standard version, and then people who are missing some very specific functionalities could still develop it or integrate an external module.
Awesome. Is there any check on the things that go to the App Store? No, right? It's like in a very open platform where you can just put apps on there. Of course, you have the reviews of the people that use it, but I just want to like just
Yes.
from Odoo perspective, like it's an open place, right? Everybody can do what they want and they can add stuff.
Yes, it is. You just need to create an account, I think,
Yeah. Okay.
and then sell
Awesome.
your modules.
Very cool. Just want to touch on the topic that comes up a lot in podcasts, but also with clients that we have, and also if you listen a bit to the front end development world, it's headless e-commerce or headless stores.
Yes.
How do you think about headless? Like, yeah, do you find it interesting? Have you seen headless stores already implemented on Odoo,
Okay.
or how do you look at that?
Okay, so if I understand well the concept of headless e-commerce, it means to have a different technology for the front end and another one for the back end, right? That's it.
Yeah, that's more or less
And
it.
so I would say that it's against the principle of Odoo. I mean, the core mission of Odoo is to make something fully integrated. So, in my own opinion, um, I I think again we should try to integrate everything at the same place, and I don't really see the added value of complicating and integrating two different systems. I think that might be interesting for marketers. Maybe the marketers and front end developers have their own softwares and their own workflow, and they want to have a way to integrate it with maybe a backend solution. But that's not our vision. We really want to have everything integrated in we really want to integrate the backend and the front end at the same place. And for that, we are focusing on developing the best standard feature instead of trying to integrate the system with external platforms. But again, if you want to integrate Odoo with external platform, it's also possible because you have API, you have access to the code, so you could create like specific connectors. But our mission is to is to avoid this and make something ready out of the box.
But I completely agree with what you said, and I also think that it's more of an issue that comes up when you are very very big. For example,
Yes.
imagine that you want to create the fastest website, or that you have hundreds millions of sales, hundreds of millions of sales. Then maybe that small like efficiency gain in terms of speed of your website makes a lot of sense. And then sometimes, of course, if you're boxed into a system, like you say, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, of course, everything is built up around that. But if you want to have some more freedom to create the fastest websites possible at that scale, then like you said, it could be interested to interesting, sorry, to look at those kinds of solutions. But yeah, it's like you said. I mean, it's not in the core of what Odoo is trying to do. Odoo is trying to do to make something that is as good for as many people as possible, which is like the other way of thinking about it. So yeah, thanks for your opinion about that thing. Um, awesome. Is there anything else that you want to point towards in what you're trying to do? So, I mean, now you're really focusing on e-commerce and websites this year from last year, maybe. Like, how does that look in the next couple of years?
We will continue improving improving the all the features, and and just every version we continue improving the system. I think we are really on the right way. So right now, today, with version 15, we have really something that is amazing. We have very a good solution. Now the big challenge is to make sure that people understand, the added value of having Odoo as a website editor, because right now, Odoo is super famous for creating ERP. Actually, we are the most installed ERP software in the world, but people don't think about Odoo first when they want to launch a website. They will probably first think about Shopify. We are still nobody in this market in terms of awareness, but we have a very good product. It's there. It's ready to use. Even you, if you listen to this podcast, you can go on odoo.com. You can start in less than 1 minute your database and launch your website. So yeah, just it's just a question of time and making sure that people uh, understand the how Odoo is good at doing e-commerce.
Yeah, that's it's a very good point, and I think that's yeah, one of the things that a lot of people like, yeah, bang their heads against the wall about. Like, is this really possible that a company can do like everything? I mean, if they do ERP systems, can they be well known for websites? I think that's the thing that you're internally um
Mm.
yeah, just having your doubts about, or that's like the very interesting thing that you have to resolve, right? And that's a very interesting
Mm.
challenge to have, because yeah, people should just play around with it and test it
Yes.
out and see how it works. Yeah,
Yes, but at the same time, I understand, because our product is really unique. There is no other players on the ERP market that are proposing fully integrated e-commerce and website solutions. So it's really new for end users, and
yeah,
they just need to to understand that yes, it's possible to have a website and e-commerce platform integrated to an ERP. And
exactly. My spark in Odoo like happened more or less. So I had an e-commerce store before, and we also sold a lot on B2B. So we did a lot of B2B sales. And in
yes,
Europe, there is always the big question of VAT, right? So you have to create
yes,
invoices and you have to create cross-border
mhm,
stuff, and then that goes along with a lot of yeah, bookkeeping issues and also
yes,
yeah, invoicing issues. So that's really the nice thing, I think. And if you can have some doubts about Shopify, is that they're, because they're, of course, they're made for the American market primarily. They all started, I mean, it's a Canadian company, but they started
yes,
with their biggest company in the US. It's just less of a challenge there. And I think those kinds of systems are not evolved in that way to yeah, to make it easy for business owners to have that whole workflow set up. And my bookkeeper always says like, yeah, we can think that Europe is ready for selling cross border, for example, as an e-commerce entrepreneur, but it's actually quite hard to set everything up in the right way. And I think that Odoo helps a lot with yeah, getting these issues out and ironing out the issues that you have if you sell cross border. So I think from a standpoint, if you want to have your invoices available in your account on your website, and if you want to have those right invoices with the right VAT and stuff, that's all like out of the box in Odoo, which is like really awesome to see, and which is really interesting to build upon, because I think there is a lot of efficiency gains that you can have there specifically.
yes,
So
exactly.
that's a very interesting point that we still like, yeah, have a huge demand for if people are on Shopify, for example.
Mm.
Also, like wholesaling, because I think that maybe we can discuss that a little bit in our last part. B2B e-commerce is still like a wave that is coming, like from my perspective, or that's what
Of
I
course.
feel at least. So it's like direct to consumer that was like a big thing, right?
Yes.
And it was very new and hot. But a lot of people also want to make sure that people can just buy stuff, businesses, I mean, then buy stuff from their websites on different pricings because they buy a whole lot of more volume than for direct to consumer customers. So, like
Yes.
integrating these both systems is also something that is very interesting to see how it evolves in the European market in the next couple of years.
Mm. Exactly. So yeah, but personally, yeah, I think that when you have your own e-commerce platform and you sell through your own website, you are really master of the message you want to to provide to your customers. And of course, selling on Amazon has interest because you could reach bigger audience. But on the opposite, sorry, having your own stores allow you to build a loyalty to your audience. And yeah, in my opinion, it's just to find the right balance between having like a direct shop and maybe sell on external platforms. And for that, we could use connectors. So in Odoo, you can sell on Amazon or other marketplace like eBay directly, and each order from this platform enter in the accounting and so on. So
Exactly. Well, that's more or less our vision. Like, if you talk about that, we really think that Odoo is one of the systems that is best positioned to, and we always say we have somebody that we talk a lot about this specific topic about. It's Jonathan from, he used to work for Bol.com, and we call it the
yes,
e-commerce engine, right? So if you have all the sales channels, because what you said is very important, right? You can have your direct to consumer model or your that people buy on your website, but I think that you have to have a broad approach to the different sales channels that you have, and then
yes,
it can all feed into that centralized system. And then you have to actually go out again, because you could have different warehouses in different countries in Europe. You can have third-party logistics centers. You can maybe have one warehouse of your own, and then the whole like interesting process starts again, right? How you integrate that with all the 3PLs and all the other systems. So I think there is a whole lot of interesting things happening on those fringes of the ecosystem. So, like making sure that we can integrate with all the different sales channels and all the different third-party logistics centers, and yeah, the thing to ship the goods to the customer. So, I think there is a lot of work to be done there, and a lot of interesting. Yeah, apps, I would say, and integrations that will be built in the next couple of years. So
yes,
that's something that we really want to see happening, and that we also maybe hopefully will try to add some, yeah, add something to the ecosystem, because they're yeah, then you really have an integrated system and an e-commerce engine that is really efficient, and that's what everybody should be aiming at, right?
yes,
So that's still a lot of work, but it's we'll see how that goes, right? So thanks a lot for joining us. I think that probably we'll have to do an update next year. So maybe we can
yeah,
already, that's an open invitation already of it's always nice to have a second version, because then people can relate to the first and then try to ask themselves like, okay, what happened in the ecosystem around Odoo? So maybe we can
yes.
hit that off in a couple of months or in a year. We'll see. Do you have anything more to add where people can follow you, for example? Yeah, where do you bring out content that people can follow?
No, I have nothing to add, but my biggest advice is to just make your own opinion and just go on odoo.com, start a new website, and just follow the guide, and you'll see that you'll be probably surprised how easy to use to set up your e-commerce on Odoo. And yes, and if you have any question regarding the services we propose and also even Odoo itself, you can reach me on cwa@odoo.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been a very big pleasure to talk to you, and we'll meet each other soon.
Yes, thanks a lot for inviting me, and see you soon.
Bye bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you're still sticking around, Please follow us on all our channels. And if you have any questions, you can, of course, reach out on those channels, LinkedIn or via email. My email address is sam@deardigital.be. But if you have any questions for Clément, like he said, you can always reach out to him directly at cwa@odoo.com. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for being here, and talk to you soon. Bye bye. Cheers.